और हेलो, दूषित जगह की सब्जी मत खाइए, और अग्नि सेवन, स्त्री संपर्क, यात्रा, प्रातः स्नान, दुर्जन संग, उपवास, कठिन श्रम, ये सब वर्जित हैं। इनको हठ योगी नहीं कर सकता। तो आपका भोजन कैसा होना चाहिए? सुपाच्य, सुस्वादु, अन्न, स्निग्ध, गाय का दूध, मक्खन, घी, मिश्री, मधु, सौंठ, परवल, फल, शाक, मूंग और साफ जल, ये सब पथ्य हैं। दीज आर द डाइट्स फॉर द प्रैक्टिशनर ऑफ हठ योगी। और हठ योग का अभ्यास कोई भी कर सकता है। स्वात्मा राम ने कहा है, युवा वृद्धो अतिवृद्धो वा बाधितो दुर्बलो अपि वा अभ्यासात सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति सर्व योगेषु अतंद्रितः। इसका हिंदी में अगर अनुवाद करें तो इसका मतलब है, बालक, वृद्ध, रोगी, स्वस्थ कोई भी योग कर सकता है, केवल उसमें प्रमाद और आलस्य नहीं होना चाहिए। अभ्यास, तन्मयता आवश्यक है। मात्र ज्ञान नहीं, ज्ञानी योगी नहीं बन सकता। हठ योग के अभ्यास में योगासन, कुंभक आदि प्राणायाम, मुद्राएं तभी तक आवश्यक हैं जब तक राजयोग सिद्ध नहीं होता। इसलिए मैं फिर से दोहराता हूं कि द मेन गोल ऑफ हठ योग इज टू रीच द स्टेज ऑफ राजयोग. राजयोग is the goal according to Swatmaram. Therefore, राजयोग में क्या होता है? राजयोग में हमारा मन लय क्षय होकर हमको सिद्धि मिल जाती है। फिर राजयोग में आत्मा और परमात्मा का ऐक्य हो जाता है, और सो हम तत्वमसि अहम ब्रह्मास्मि की अनुभूति होने लगती है। ये सब प्रथम उपदेश में दिए गए हैं। द्वितीय उपदेश में प्राणायाम की चर्चा है। और याद रखिए, पहला तो ये सब भौतिक था, अन्नमय प्राण के स्तर पर इनकी चर्चा की गई है और ये सब आपको करना है। अब हमको पहुंचना है प्राणायाम, ब्रीदिंग के स्टेज पर, वाइटल ब्रेथ जिसे कहते हैं। जब हमारे योगाभ्यास और आसन दृढ़ हो जाएं, तो गुरु के मार्गदर्शन में हमको प्राणायाम करना चाहिए, प्राणायाम का अभ्यास सीखना चाहिए। प्राण वायु जब तक चंचल रहती है तब तक चित्त भी चंचल रहता है। द कॉन्शियसनेस कैन नॉट बी स्टेबल। चित्त वृत्ति निरोध तब तक संभव नहीं है जब तक कि हमारा प्राण जो है स्थिर न हो जाए। अतः प्राणायाम के द्वारा प्राण को स्थिर करें। ब्रेथ इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट aspect of our personality. If vital breath is not there, the man is dead. Man is not live. Man lives so long as this vital breath continues functioning. Therefore, स्वात्माराम ने कहा है, यावद वायु स्थितो देहे तावद जीवनम उच्यते, मरणम तस्य निष्क्रांति ततो वायुम निरोधयेत. Therefore, my friends, control your breath. That is the most important aspect of our personality. वायु के अभाव में जीवन की सक्रियता, क्रियात्मकता ये समाप्त हो जाती है। इसलिए प्राण संचार और संकलन के लिए प्राणायाम से नाड़ियों को शुद्ध करिए। प्राणायाम से सुषुम्ना नाड़ी का संकलित मल धुल जाता है। सात्विक बुद्धि रखें, अनुलोम विलोम करें। यहाँ थोड़ा ध्यान रखिए, कुछ शब्दों को आप याद रख लीजिए। चंद्र नाड़ी और सूर्य नाड़ी का प्रयोग हम करेंगे। आप समझ लीजिए चंद्र नाड़ी क्या है। चंद्र नाड़ी को ईड़ा भी कहते हैं। इसको बाईं नासिका से जब आप सांस लेते हैं तो वो चंद्र नाड़ी की सांस है। चंद्र नाड़ी की सांस का इफेक्ट जो है वो शीतल होता है। वो आपको हाई ब्लड प्रेशर वगैरह में इसका उपयोग किया जाता है। और इसी को ईड़ा भी कहते हैं, इसी को रात भी कहते हैं। और दाहिनी नासिका से सांस लेना वो सूर्य जाता है। जो आप सूर्य नाड़ी से सांस प्रश्वास करते हैं उसकी तासीर गर्म होती है। जब आपको ठंडक लग रही हो, जब आपके भोजन में के पाचन में दिक्कत हो, तो आप सूर्य नाड़ी का प्रयोग बताया जाता है। तो इस ईड़ा पिंगला या चंद्र नाड़ी और सूर्य नाड़ी, वाम नासिका और दक्षिण नासिका से आप अपने वायु को शुद्ध कीजिए। और इस शुद्धिकरण में 3 महीने लग सकते हैं हठ प्रदीपिका के अनुसार। फिर इसमें बताया गया है कि 10 वायुओं का निष्प्रवाद होने लगता है 3 महीने के बाद। दिन में 4 बार, प्रातः, दोपहर, सूर्यास्त के समय, उसके 3 घंटे के बाद, मध्य रात्रि में और मध्य रात्रि के पूर्व प्रत्येक बार 80 प्राणायाम करें। कुल 320 प्राणायाम हो जाएंगे। इससे नाड़ी की शुद्धि हो जाएगी और आप सुषुम्ना में प्रवेश करने के लिए तैयार हो जाएंगे। यू विल बी प्रिपेयर टू एंटर द मेन नाड़ी, दैट इज कॉल्ड सुषुम्ना, एंड देन दैट विल टेक यू टुवर्ड्स राजयोग। प्राणायाम के 3 स्टेज हैं। उसको डिटेल में मुझे शायद नहीं जा सकते हम। कनिष्ठ जो है उसमें 12 प्राणायाम किए जाते हैं, मध्यम में 24 और उत्तम में 36 प्राणायाम किए जाते हैं। फिर जब उत्तम प्राणायाम आप करते हैं तब ब्रह्म रंध्र में प्रवेश कर सकते हैं। आनंदानुभूति मिलती है। प्राणायाम के श्रम से जो पसीना निकलता है, स्वात्माराम कहते हैं, उसको अपने शरीर पर रगड़िए, उससे स्फूर्ति और ताजगी मिलती है। दूध और घी खाएं। प्राणायाम में जल्दबाजी मत करें। जैसे शेर को धीरे धीरे बस में किया जाता है या किसी भी जानवर को, उसी ढंग से हमारे प्राण को भी हम धीरे धीरे ही बस में कर सकते हैं। विधि पूर्वक अगर आप प्राणायाम करते हैं तो आपके सब रोग दूर हो जाते हैं, और अगर गलत ढंग से करते हैं तो रोग पैदा हो जाएंगे और वायु कुपित हो जाती है। हिचकी, खांसी, श्वास, कान, आंख, नाक, सिर में पीड़ा होने लगती है। पूरक, कुंभक, रेचक, ये सब जो है क्रमबद्ध सिस्टेमेटिक ढंग से करें। फिर नाड़ी शुद्धि से हल्कापन महसूस करने लगेंगे आप। अब इसके बाद जो है इसमें खटकर्म आता है। षट कर्म या खट कर्म, धौती, वस्ती, नेति, नौली, त्राटक और कपाल भाती। धौती आदि से शरीर की स्थूलता कम होती है। किसी भी योगाभ्यास से पूर्व इन क्रियाओं से शरीर को शुद्ध कर लेना चाहिए। हम डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे। धौती से कपड़ा लेकर के मुंह में डाल करके और पेट की सफाई की जाती है। घेरंड संहिता में धौती के 4 प्रकार बताए गए हैं। अंतर्धौती, दंत धौती, हृदय धौती और मूल शोधन। अंतर्धौती के 4 प्रकार हैं, वात्सार, वारिसार, बहिसार, बहिष्कृत। दंत धौती के 4 प्रकार हैं, दंत मूल, जिह्वा मूल, कर्ण धौती, कपाल रंध्र धौती, हृदय धौती इत्यादि इत्यादि। इसके बाद वस्ती कर्म करना है। वस्ती कर्म के 2 भेद हैं, एक तो जल वस्ती और दूसरा है पवन वस्ती। इसको भी हम डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे, आपको गुरु से ही ये सब सीखना पड़ेगा। इसके बाद है नेति कर्म। सूत्र को नाक में डाल करके या मुंह में डाल करके और फिर नाक और पेट की सफाई की जाती है। नाक से डाल करके मुख से निकालें। इससे खेचड़ी सिद्ध होती है। खेचड़ी का मतलब समझते हैं? खे माने आकाश, चरी माने चलने वाली। आकाश में चलने वाली अर्थात शून्य में चलने वाली। जब आप शून्य सब कुछ आपकी प्राप्तियां हो जाती हैं तो वही है खेचरी मुद्रा, खेचरी सिद्धि। कफ रोग, नेत्र, कपाल रोगों में सूत नेति से काफी लाभ होता है। जल नेति में नासा में जल डालते हैं और मुंह से निकालते हैं। कपाल नेति में पानी मुंह से लेकर नाक से निकालते हैं। इसके बाद एक विधि और है त्राटक विधि, जिसको एकाग्र चित्त होकर के दृष्टि सूक्ष्म पदार्थ पर आंसू निकलने तक स्थिर करें। नेत्र रोग, तंद्रा, आलस्य आदि दूर हो जाते हैं। इसके भी 3 प्रकार हैं। एक तो है आंतर आभ्यंतरिक, दूसरा है बाह्य, तीसरा है मध्य। नेत्र बंद कर आज्ञा चक्र, नाभि या हृदय पर ध्यान अंतर त्राटक है। सूक्ष्म पदार्थ पर स्थिर दृष्टि मध्य त्राटक है। चंद्रमा, नक्षत्र, उगता सूरज देखना ये बाह्य त्राटक है। महर्षि घेरंड के अनुसार इससे संभवी सिद्ध होती है और दिव्य दृष्टि मिलती है। इसके बाद फिर क्या करना है हमको? हठ योग के स्टेप के रूप में नौली करना है। इसको लौलिक भी कहते हैं। दोनों पैरों को 1.5 फीट की दूरी पर रखकर हाथों को घुटने पर रखें, आगे झुकें, पेट को अंदर खींचें और उड्डीयान बंद लगाएं। पेट के बीच के दोनों नालों को एक साथ दाएं बाएं घुमाएं। खाली पेट ये सब करना चाहिए। इसके बाद फिर कपाल भाती है। कपाल भाती लोहार की धौंकनी की तरह रेचक और पूरक करते हैं। इसके भी 3 प्रकार हैं। एक तो वातकर्म, व्युत्कर्म और शीतकर्म कपाल भाती। इसे नाड़ी शोधन भी कहते हैं। इससे पाचन ठीक रहता है। और व्युत्क्रम में कपाल भाती में नाक से जल पीकर मुंह से निकालते हैं। षटकर्म से शरीर की शुद्धि होती है। और कुछ लोगों का विचार है कि षटकर्म अनावश्यक है, यह हठ योग के लिए जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि शरीर और नाड़ियों की शुद्धि प्राणायाम से ही हो जाती है। इसके बाद गजकरनी है। हेलो हेलो,
यस सर, आवाज आ रही है।
अच्छा, वेरी गुड। इसके बाद गजकरनी है। इसके द्वारा विधि द्वारा खा पी करके और फिर उस भोजन को बाहर निकाल देना, उद्भमन करना, उल्टी कर देना गज करनी है। अब इस प्राणायाम का अभ्यास हम कैसे करें? प्राणायाम से दीर्घ जीवन मिलता है। ईड़ा, पिंगला और सुषुम्ना। आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड दीज नाड़ीज। ईड़ा, अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग, इट इज चंद्र नाड़ी। चंद्र नाड़ी माने बाई नासिका, पिंगला माने दाहिनी नासिका, जिसको सूर्य नाड़ी भी कहते हैं। और सुषुम्ना वह नाड़ी है जो हमारे मेरुदंड से गुजरती हुई सहस्रार चक्र, मूलाधार वगैरह को कनेक्ट करती है। ये सब नाड़ियां जो हैं प्राणायाम से शुद्ध हो जाती हैं, मन स्थिर हो जाता है। इससे खेचरी मुद्रा भी सिद्ध होती है। और जब खेचरी मुद्रा सिद्ध हो जाती है तो हमारा मन उन्मनी हो जाता है। उन्मनी मतलब क्या है? उन्मनी का कालातीत हो जाना, वस्तुओं से संपर्क न रखना और मन के ऊपर भी हम चले जाना और 8 सिद्धियों को प्राप्त करना, अणिमा, लघिमा, गरिमा आदि को प्राप्त करना, यही उन्मनी की अवस्था है। अब कुंभक प्राणायाम के भेद हम नहीं बताएंगे। इसमें शीतली और भस्त्रिका और ये सब आते हैं। इसमें कहा गया है सूर्य भेदनम, उज्जाई, शीतकारी, शीतली तथा भ्रामरी मूर्छा। भस्त्रिका, भ्रामरी, मूर्छा, प्लावनी, अष्ट कुंभका। 8 भेद इसके बताए गए हैं। अब इसका पहला है सूर्य भेदन कुंभक। इसमें सुखासन में बैठ करके दाई नाक से सांस लेना है, वो सूर्य भेदन उसको कहते हैं। आपको सर्दी जुकाम हो, ये सब हो, तो सूर्य भेदी प्राणायाम करिए। और आपको ठंडक लग गई हो या ठंडक लग रही हो तो उससे बचने के लिए सूर्य भेदी कुंभक करिए। और कुंभक के समय भीतर सांस लेते हैं, जालंधर बंद लगाते हैं। जालंधर का मतलब अपने कंठ को आकुंचन कीजिए, कंठ का। और फिर उद्यान में नाभि को पीठ में लगाते हैं। ये सब कई हैं, लेकिन ये सब खाली थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज से आपको फायदा नहीं होगा, किसी गुरु के पास ही जाना पड़ेगा। आजकल तो तमाम बनारस में, हरिद्वार में, सब जगह इसके होते हैं। उस जाकर के किसी अच्छे गुरु से हमको सीखना पड़ता है। सूर्य भेदन में सुखासन में बैठ करके दाई नाक से सांस भर करके पूरे शरीर में ले जाएं, फिर धीरे धीरे बाई नाक से निकालें। याद रखिए, दाहिनी नाक से सांस लेना है और बाई से निकालना है। 10 से बढ़ाकर 100 बार तक करें। पूरक और रेचक के समय आवाज करें। इससे पित्त और गर्मी बढ़ेगी शरीर में। वात और कफ जन्य रोग, पेट के कीड़े, मंदाग्नि, रक्त दोष आदि में लाभ मिलता है। इसी से कुंडलिनी भी जगती है। 10 प्राण हृदय में। 10 प्राण क्या है, थोड़ा इसको नोट कर लीजिए। जो हृदय में एक प्राण है, गुदा में प्राण है, उसको अपान कहते हैं। प्राण जो है हृदय में रहता है। गुदा का प्राण अपान है। नाभि में समान है। कंठ में उदान है। और सारे शरीर में जो प्राण है उसको व्यान कहते हैं। ये 5 प्राण हैं। फिर 5 उप प्राण भी हैं, जैसे उद्गार में नाग, उन्मीलन में कूर्म, क्षुधा में कृकर, जमहाई में देवदत्त, और मरने के बाद भी जो प्राण बचता है उसको कहते हैं धनंजय। सूर्य भेदन कुंभक से दिमाग स्वस्थ रहता है, पेट के कृमि मरते हैं और वात कफ दूर होते हैं। इसके बाद उज्जाई कुंभक है। उज्जाई कुंभक जो है, ये तीनों कुंभक, पूरक, रेचक तीनों धीरे धीरे करें, कम करें। वायु छाती से नीचे न जानी चाहिए। पेट रोग, कृमि, आमबात, क्षय, कफ में इससे फायदा होता है। इसके अभ्यास के पूर्व जालंधर बंद लगाना चाहिए। जल्दबाजी में न करें, नहीं तो हानि होगी। शीतकारी कुंभक क्या होता है, अपने दांतों को मिला करके और इस ढंग से हवा खींचिए, जैसे आपको मिर्ची खाने पर आपको सी करते हैं, उस ढंग से उसको शीतकारी कुंभक कहते हैं। शीतली कुंभक वह है जिसमें आपके शरीर में गर्मी अगर बढ़ गई है तो उसको कम करने के लिए आप अपने जीभ की पाइप बनाइए, पुपली बनाइए, बाहर उसको डालिए और उस पुपली से बाहर की ठंडक को खींचिए। आपको याद होगा कि ये बाहर की हवा में भी पानी होता है, उस पानी को आप खींचिए। यही हमारा एसी जो हम घर में लगाते हैं, तो यही काम एसी भी करता है। तो शीतलीकरण से कुंभक लगाइए। जीभ को जैसे पाइप बना करके फिर उसको खींचिए, मुंह में भरिए और फिर मुंह से निकाल दीजिए। इससे क्या होता है, गुल्म, प्लीहा, ज्वर, पित्त विकार, क्षुधा, तृषा, उच्च रक्तचाप, सर्प विष आदि में लाभ मिलता है। आजकल बहुत लोगों को उच्च रक्तचाप होता है, वो शीतलीकरण करके उसको कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। इसके बाद एक है भस्त्रिका कुंभक। पद्मासन में इसको करें। इसके 4 प्रकार हैं, मध्यम, वाम, दक्षिण और अनुलोम विलोम। मध्यम भस्त्रिका में दोनों नासापुटों के भाथी की तरह सांस लें और छोड़ें। पूरा पेट भरें और खाली करें। 8 बार पूरक, 8 बार रेचक करने के बाद 9वीं बार पूर्ण पूरक करके 10वीं बार पूरा रेचक कर दें। यह 1 राउंड है, ऐसे ही 3 राउंड करें। और भी बहुत है, इससे बहुत फायदा होता है। नाभि स्थान के मणिपूरक चक्र पर ध्यान रखें। त्रिधातु जन्य रोग अपच में लाभ मिलता है और कुंडली भी इससे जगती है। इसके बाद भ्रामरी कुंभक मित्रों, दिमाग को बढ़ाने के लिए हमारे यहाँ शोध छात्र आपके पास सब बैठे हुए हैं और प्राध्यापकों को, एडवोकेट, वकीलों को भ्रामरी कुंभक बहुत लाभदायक है। अगर आपको अल्जाइमर और ब्रेन की प्रॉब्लम से बचना है तो भ्रामरी कुंभक करिए। भ्रामरी कुंभक में क्या होता है मित्रों, आप अपने कान को दोनों अंगूठों से बंद कीजिए, उसके बाद तर्जनी को माथे पर ले जाइए और मध्यिका को, मध्यम उंगली को आंखों पर रखिए, फिर अनामिका को नाक पर रखिए और कनिष्ठिका को मुंह पर रख करके सब छिद्रों को बंद करके और भ्रमर की तरह आवाज करिए और गुनगुनाइए। इससे आपके ब्रेन सेल्स जो हैं, कंप्यूटर के चिप्स, उनको ऑक्सीजन मिलता है, वो हमेशा स्वस्थ रहते हैं और आपकी याददाश्त बनी रहेगी। आप मृत्यु तक आपका दिमाग जवान बना रहेगा। शरीर भले वृद्ध हो जाए लेकिन मस्तिष्क जो है हमेशा जवान बना रहेगा। इसके बाद कुंभक के और भी कई है, प्लावनी कुंभ इत्यादि इत्यादि। ये होता है कि ये सब हठ योग सिद्धि के लक्षण क्या है, कि हमको हठ योग में हमको सफलता मिल गई है, इसके लक्षण क्या है। तो लक्षण है, पहले शरीर कृश हो जाएगा और कांति आपके चेहरे पर आएगी, चेहरा आपका चमकता हुआ मिलेगा। उसके बाद शरीर में स्फूर्ति रहेगी, आभा, एक प्रकाश रहेगा मुखमंडल पर। और नाद श्रवण, ये बहुत ध्यान रखिए, आपके शरीर में नाद आप सुनने लगेंगे। और नाद क्या है इसके बारे में हम आगे चर्चा करेंगे। घंटी की तरह एक आवाज जब सुनने लगते हैं वो है नाद श्रवण, और वो हठ योग के सफल होने का एक लक्षण है। इसके बाद आपकी आंख की रोशनी तेज हो जाती है, स्वास्थ्य आपका अच्छा हो जाता है, वीर्य पुष्ट हो जाता है, वीर्य और धातुएं पुष्ट हो जाती हैं, जठराग्नि प्रदीप से हो जाती है, अच्छे ढंग से आपको भूख लगेगी और नाड़ी शुद्ध हो जाएगी। ये हठ योग की पूर्णता के लक्षण हैं। मैडम ज्योत्सना जी बताइए, आगे चलूं या बंद करूं? हेलो हेलो
यस सर,
हेलो।
प्लीज। हेलो सर।
हाँ, अब यहाँ पर
सर
रुके या आगे चलें?
रुक जाइएगा सर प्लीज, क्योंकि हम लोग पहले थोड़ा सा लेट चल रहे हैं।
बहुत बढ़िया। तो ऐसा है, तो अभी तक हम जो है दूसरे हठ योग प्रदीपिका के दूसरे उपदेश का निचोड़ आपको बता दिए हैं, पहले दो। अब
अति सुंदरम सर।
तृतीय उपदेश में मुद्रा पकड़ना आएगा और उसमें खेचरी, उद्यान बंद, महावेद, महाबंध आदि सब आते हैं। उसके बाद तमाम जितने बंद हैं, और चौथा उपदेश जो है वहां हम राजयोग में पहुंचते हैं। और चौथा उपदेश हठ योग की परिणति है, वही वही हमारा उद्देश्य है। हठ योग के द्वारा हमें उस स्थान पर पहुंचना है, वही सबसे अच्छा, सबसे उच्च लक्ष्य है। और हठ योग मस्ट बी यूज्ड एज ए मीन्स, एज ए पाथ, and not as a show. I'm sorry to say that there are so many yogis and all that who do magic by doing hatha yoga and all that. They are distorting hatha yoga and bringing bad name, and many of them have started the shop of hatha yoga. They must be stopped. I hope our students, our research scholars, our colleagues in the teaching faculty will follow the hatha yoga properly by taking the guidance of some good yoga teacher. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, sir? Hello? You can hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
जी बहुत बहुत सुंदर सर.
Thank you so much, sir,
Thank
for
you sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
very
you. Thank
Thank you.
you. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you,
Very
Swamiji.
useful day.
If the opportunity comes, I will give demonstration coming to the Mahila Mahavidyalaya and complete the remaining portion of my lecture. I practice yoga, Hatha Yoga. I've been going to Kaivalya Dham, Lonavala, also Haridwar Baba Ramdev's ashram. I've stayed there for days together, and to some extent I have learned all these. Okay, so I'll give the benefit of my experience to B.H.U. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Very soon we will invite you. Now, once again, I invite our distinguished speaker, Dr. Amit Sharma, sir, for his presentation. Dr. Amit Sharma.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I think Professor Mishra has done such a great synopsis, presented such a great synopsis of the entire Hatha Yoga Pradipika that I don't have much to add on that. So I will go more towards the clinical aspect and the philosophical sides and the methodological side of this text. And also I will explore a bit the relationship between Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga. As Professor Jyotsna and then Professor Gorakhnath Mishra rightly said that Kevalam Raj Yoga Hat Vidyo Upadishyate. So the goal, this is the second shloka of Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So he's clearly mentioning explicitly in the beginning that Raj Yoga is the goal. And Raj Yoga, the goal of Raj Yoga is basically come from the classical text of Yoga Sutra, Patanjali, written by Patanjali. So, in order to understand Hatha Yoga, we should understand what is there in the Raj Yoga. What is the goal of Raj Yoga? Samadhi. Samadhi is the contemplation, the absorption in which you can see the discrimination between Prakarthi and Purusha. Now, what is Prakarthi and Purusha? So we have to go back to Sankhya to understand this, because as S.N. Das Gupta rightly said that if you want to understand Yoga Sutra, you have to understand Sankhya Karika first. Sankhya is the oldest text written. First text was in 1320 BC, written by actually Shashti Tantra by Kapil Muni. We don't have that text. We already know it through cross references. Unfortunately we lost that text, but we do have Sankhya Karika, which is basically just 73 stanzas, and it explores so beautifully the entire philosophy of India. Any philosophy, if you want to understand, whether it is Vedanta, Shankar, Nyaya, Vaisheshik, you'll find the roots eventually to that Sankhya Karika. 73 stanzas, not a long book, very condensed book, very informative book. And you must read that if you want to really understand that entire, how that yoga evolved over a period of time up to the Hatha Yoga. Nowadays, as Professor Mishra also mentioned, that Hatha Yoga, when you say yoga, yoga is such a cliche word. You have, especially in the West, you have different type of yoga, bear yoga, goat yoga, Bikram yoga, what not. So it has in some ways degenerated as well in some compartments. But so we have to find where actually the root of Hatha Yogas are, and to understand that we have to explore Raj Yoga, and to understand Raj Yoga, we have to go to that Sankhya Karika. So entire universe is basically divided into two ultimate metaphysical substances, Prakarthi and the Purusha. So Prakarthi is like, if you're a fan of Big Bang Theory, Prakarthi is like before the Big Bang happened. It was avyakt. Prakarthi, one of the name of the Prakarthi is avyakt, which is unmanifest. So it's just there, it's not manifesting. It get manifestation when the reflection of Purusha comes into Prakarthi. But Prakarthi is material, but it can be so refined in the form of sattva, buddhi, which is basically the purest form of sattva, that it almost resembles the pure consciousness. So pure consciousness is one, and Prakarthi is the another, which is the more material part. And this is pure consciousness, and they somehow meet together. And this Prakarthi, if it evolved, it can go up to the sattva, the purest form of sattva, which is buddhi, and the sattva is so close to actually to Purusha that it almost become like a pure consciousness. In fact, in one of the stanza of in the chapter 2, 55 sutra, Patanjali mentioned that sattva purusho suddhi samme kavalyam iti. So when sattva becomes so untainted that it becomes almost pure consciousness. So I mean, if you say the yoga, the term yoga itself, yoga has been defined in two ways. What's the meaning of yoga? One is coming from yujir yoge, and other is yujir samadho. So yujir yoga, if you say, it's more towards this. So if you go that side, yujir yoga, it says that there is an underlying reality, which is one, and above that reality, on the top of that, we see the manifestation of different phenomena. But under this phenomena, there is one reality. And the yoga is the union with that unity. So yoga is more in the sense of union, yujir yogi. There is another term, which is yujir samadho, which most probably, I may be wrong, but which most probably Sankhya and the yoga and the Yoga Sutra follows. So samadho means you go to an extent, your consciousness evolved to an extent in which you're in contemplative state of samadhi, and in which you can see the differentiation, the distinction, or what the Sankhya-karika call vivekhyati. So you can discriminate between Prakarthi and Purusha. So evolve your consciousness to that extent. So this is important to understand. So yoga is basically is an attempt of the humanity, of some of the purest soul on earth, to raise the human consciousness to the level, to refine your intellect to so much that it become purest sattva. And when you reach your consciousness to purest form of sattva, you're almost there, you're almost a god. So that is pure consciousness. So that goal is still intact in the Hatha Yoga. But so if you see this, I'll take you slightly more back in 3200 BC. If you go when the king Yudhishthira was stepping out of the throne, and he was waiting to die for the Lord Krishna, and the Kali Yuga is about to start. Yes, I'm talking about 3200 BC. And then it's so the Kali Yuga is about to start, and then the rishis, the sages, the purest, the people with the highest energy, highest positive energy, start receding into the Himalayas. And then all these later texts of Yoga Sutras and other systems come. Because in Kali Yuga, the consciousness start degenerating. So we can evolve the consciousness once again to the extent in which we can get that positive energy of those sages back. So Hatha Yoga is also an attempt in that part. But if you see, now come to the Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga, if you see, there are 5 states of mind, which what the the goal of the text is very clear in the second stanza. Yogash Chitvritti Nirodham. So the cessation of that modification of the constant modification of that chitta. Once that modification stops, once you put a halt on it, the sattva become pure, and then you can realize your true nature. But mostly there are 5 states of mind, which basically kshipt, mood, vikshipt, ekagra, and nirudh. So there are 5. If you see all human beings on earth, you can divide them into 5 parts. Everyone is somewhere in one of these 5 categories. This is written in Yoga Sutra. So there is kshipt. Kshipt means the restless. So here, in this case, the rajas gun is at the extreme. I hope you understand the sattva, rajas, and tamas. So prakrti is basically made up of these three guna. It is Traigunya, Adhar. So it is composed of these three gunas. And when Prakriti moves from unmanifest to manifest, these three gunas come forth. It's like, there's, we have three elementary particles like electron, proton, and neutron. And you get almost 105 elements just because of the different permutation combination of these three elements. So similarly, there is Sattva, Rajas, and Gunas, and different form, different combinations of them make the entire world, all the Tanmatras and the Panch Mahabhutas evolved out of that. So when he analyzed, but they are so refined, because if this analogy is not perfect, because in electron proton you just get the physical side, but in this one the mental side is also evolving. So the mind, Antakaran, which is made up of Manas and Buddhi and Ahankar, so they are also evolving out of these trigunas. So they explain physical as well as mental side. So there are 5 states in which we can divide the entire human beings. First is Kshipt. Kshipt means the restless. So restless, he's always jumping like a monkey. Mind is jumping from one position to another, never at rest. This is the nature of Rajas Guna. Once you're under the influence of Rajas Guna, you're like drunken. So mind never stops. It's a condition of someone who is like a more in anxiety condition. So they have their heart, from the clinical side of it, their heart get palpitation. Their thought is just going on non-stop. Their heartbeat start rising up. So restlessness, they start sweating, panicking, all of that. So second one is mood. Mood is basically like more infatuated or under delusion. When you get stuck by something, too much biased, too much prejudice, like too much committed to something, like maybe money, you're worshiping just money, you're holding on to wealth. So mood is more infatuated person. The third is Vikshipt. And Vikshipt is someone who basically, most of us are in that state, Vikshipt. So it goes. So mood is more under tamas. Like Kshipt, first one was under Rajas. The second one was under tamas. So Rajas, tamas. And Vikshipt, sometime you're in tamas, sometime you're in Rajas. So you keep fluctuating between them. So most of the people are like that. And sometimes you get steadiness as well. So between Rajas and tamas, sometimes you have a restful time, which is sort of sattva, not waken, but sort of sattva in between. So, and this cycle keep going on. And then fourth state come ekagra. Ekagra is the one-pointed mind. Mind is focused on the thing, on the task, on the object entirely. The whole of your mental, physical energy is going toward that side. Have you heard of that story in which the Dronacharya asked everyone, he was training them for bows, and before they can fire, they can shoot their arrow, he was asking them what you can see. Most people saying that there was a bird on the tree and he wanted to hit the eye of the bird, and all the Kauravas came, and he asked them what you can see. They see, I can see the tree, someone can see, I can see branch, I can see bird. But when Arjun came, he's just see what you can see. He just said, I can see that eye, not even the right eye, just the left eye. So that one-pointedness is ekagra. And then come Niruddha. Niruddha is almost that state in which you become that detached, suspended. So you vivek khyati. So you are in that state in which you can see the discrimination between Prakarthi and the Purusha. So Niruddha is already that samprakyat samadhi. So what I'm saying is, Patanjali says that this Yoga Sutra ideally can be practiced by those who are in the last 2 states. So not for Kshipt, not for mood, not for Vikshipt, but only for Ekagra and Niruddha. They can raise their evolve their consciousness to that. But how many people are there with that consciousness, that level? So Patanjali the demands are very high, and it's also over the period of time, the consciousness has degenerated, the barriers have become lower and lower. So at this time, if you see, that also justifies why the Hatha Yoga is more popular these days, because people feel more connected to it. Patanjali set the barriers too high. I mean, they can't jump. If you want to motivate someone, if you keep the target too high, they will get discouraged, like angur khatte hain. And if you keep them so here, then of course people are already there. So you have to keep somewhere here. So this is something the Hatha Yoga provides, and Hatha Yoga Pradipika is one of the master texts in that. And there are other texts too, which Professor Mishra has rightly said, Shiv Tantra and Giran Samhita and so many others. But one I will add that Khechari Vidya is actually, someone actually wrote a PhD thesis in Oxford University on Khechari Vidya. So that is also a very, very good text for this. It's rare to find. So Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which basically eliminates Hatha Yoga, provides you that. So once you're there, then it opens up the door to the Raj Yoga, which is the final goal. So yeah, so that's what I want to say. How can you see from the time of Yudhishthira, 32 BC, how the humanity is evolving. And the goal of the Raj Yoga in per se is to evolve that consciousness to a level, to the purest form of sattva, in which you become almost a god. So pure that it matches with the pure consciousness. As I said, Suddhi Shamme Kevalyam iti. Sattva Purusho Suddhi Shamme. So Shuddhi, purification to that level. Now, I want to touch another point of Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is, as already been said, that there are 4 chapters in it, Asana, and then second one is more Shatkarma. Shatkarma is basically 6 cleansing technique. So they are Dhoti, Noli, Basti, Neti, Tratak, and Kapalbhati. So, and then Mudra, 3rd chapter, Mudra and Bandhan, 4th chapter is Samadhi. So you see, in the Yoga Sutra, if you see, you're talking about Ashtangic mark. They say Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. 8 parts. So Yam, Niyam. Yam is like restraint, certain restraints. So restraints means you don't do them. Like Ahimsa Satya, Aste Brahmacharya Prigraha, Shoch Santosh Tap Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidham. These 5 are niyamas. So you have to do these first in order to go to asana, and then pranayam, and then pratyahara, and then dharana, and dhyan, and then samadhi. So these, as Professor Mishra has pointed out rightly, that in Hatha Yoga Pradipika also there are the purification has mentioned. But asana come first. And it's clearly mentioned in the 2nd chapter, I guess, that asana provides that stability of the mind and should be the starting point. Because for now, let's see, to be practical, how many of people can follow that code of conduct? Forget about some, advanced yogis or good souls, but for most people, it's very hard. Satya, Ahimsa, Aste, Brahmacharya, Aprigraha, and then 5 do's. So for most, until you don't master them, your consciousness is not ready to take even the asanas. Asana is that in which you can sit calmly. Otherwise, you can't sit calmly before that. But Hatha Yoga Pradipika says that start with the asana. And in the asana, in the process of the asana, you start connecting with your... And here, this Hatha Yoga borrowed a lot of information from Tantra Yoga. It has to be recognized that from Mahayana, and Tantra is an old tradition. And it also mixed up with Buddhism later in Mahayana, especially with Mahayana schools, 2 schools of the Mahayana. And then it degenerated as well at times. But then Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the Hatha Yoga is basically the Nath Sampradaya. They purify it and grab, and this, not grab is not the right word, sorry for that, but grasp. And just the condensed information, the quality information from them, and combine with that the information coming from the Sankhya and other from the Ayurveda as well. So Hatha Yoga is actually getting the information from a lot of resources. Because if you see there are 6 cleansing techniques, I mean, they're very, the way they talk, like the detoxification of the body. So they're talking about purification. And if you say detoxification is one of the main thing here in the West, if you say everyone is after some detoxification, this is like a cliche word. If you go to the YouTube and then how to detoxify your liver, probably they are more interested in liver, but in general, mental toxicity is mental as well, emotional as well, and physical as well. So toxicity is one of the, in terms of food, in terms of the organs, it's one of the cliche word these days. And probably this is the first text who is talking about that purification. And this is also actually coming from Raj Yoga as well. If you see the Nema, in the Nema they say Soch Santoshta. Soch is cleanliness. So cleanliness, but in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, he elaborated further. He go much deeper into it. He connect with this, with the human being at present. So, and the thing is that asana you start with, okay? Anyone can do asana, no matter what your level of the consciousness is. And asana will open up. It will give you some stability of the mind. Because Patanjali say that if you can't practice those 5 to Yama and Nema, asana doesn't come. But you start with those asanas first. So it will, you actually in asana, you hold the body still. So once you hold the body still, body is actually more tangible. Mind is much harder to grasp. Mind is more subtle. So you move from gross to subtle, from more tangible to less tangible. So that's the way you go. Have you heard of that story of, probably I'll go to later. I don't want to delay too much, but the story is that how to move from that gross to the subtle. Once you master something that is more tangible, then you go to something more subtle. And that's what Hatha Yoga Pradipika says. So after you master that asana, which everyone can and everyone should, even no matter how, where your consciousness is, you can practice asana. And once you master the asana, then you have to practice Shat Karmas. Pranayam come later. Because pranayam is like, in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, one of the stanzas say it's the king of the mind. If you control prana, you control your mind, you control your mood. And it's not a small thing. If you control your mood, the whole biochemistry is in your hand. You control your sleep, no one can make you reactive. You won't have anger. You master yourself. So once after the asana, you have to cleanse yourself in order to do the pranayam, become eligible for pranayam. So because otherwise your body is not ready for the pranayam. Because pranayam require that holding of the breath. It's not simply just doing inhaling and exhaling. That it starts with that, but there are much complex processes. Professor Mishra was talking about some of them. Like when you use bandhas, especially Dhyan Bandha, Mool Bandha, and Jalandhar Bandha. So you have to hold the breath. And that holding breath can affect your entire hormonal system. It can affect your respiratory rate. You can generate extra heat in the body. You can, you are basically can mess up your entire system if you are not ready for it. So that's why cleansing comes first. First you have to detoxify. First you have to prepare your body, get your body ready for that. If your body is not ready for that, pranayam can have negative consequences. So like if you have a heart disease and you're holding the breath for long, what's going to happen? But it's not the fault of the yoga. It's the step you have to follow. So after that, this asana, you master that Shat Karmas. And then Shat Karmas, after Shat Karma, pranayam, it opened up the door for pranayam. And then after pranayam, then mudras and bandha. Mudra and bandhas are more complex. And in mudras and bandhas, what you do? You basically, like Professor Mishra was also saying there, that we have pran here, apan here, saman in the navel, vyan in the entire body. So these different vatas, different form of prana is moving. Now they have huge power because they are principle of movement. Now you can concentrate those prana into some special part, like in Mool Bandha. In Mool Bandha is basically to awaken the Mooladhara chakra. Now you gather all your power in the Mool Bandha so that it can wake up, because that extra energy, it's all about energy. Most people can't raise their consciousness because they have low energy. And that's what happens. If you get easily agitated, what happens if, for instance, you're very tired, fatigued, and someone is asking you to do something, you get irritable because you don't have energy. But what about if you have a lot of energy, someone asks you to do something, you'll be happy to do it. So, sorry. So it's all about energy. So once your energy level is high, then you're ready for this. And that these mudras and bandhas are specifically techniques. I won't go into techniques, it's not possible. It has to be direct. But mudras and bandhas, and Professor Mishra already have described some of them, are basically generate that power. So you can gather that prana into one area. And then that area is high energy and it can open up any blockage, any stagnation in that part. And once that blockage is open, the prana start flowing in meridian. So, and this information, Ida and Pingla, is actually interesting. This is coming from Tantra. This is not in Yoga Sutra. Yoga Sutra is for, people who have certain level. They already are there, Ekagra and Nirut. But this is for common people. So once that mudra and bandha, you can open up. So in Tantra, very briefly, I would say that you have Ida and Pingla. So what are they? You have actually 72,000 nadis. Yeah, nadis are like meridians. You can't cut your body and see them. It's subtle meridians, but in which prana flows. Yeah. Now, out of those 72,000 nadis, you can reduce them to 2 important nadis. Out of those 2 important nadis, all the other nadis get their breath. Yeah, get their supply, get their fuel. So if you master these 2 nadis, you master the entire those 72,000 nadis. And these 2 are Ida and Pingla. And if you see, when you're inhaling through the left, it's more Ida. And when you're inhaling through the right, it's more Pingla. And it's very, very, it's not exactly similar, but there is a concept of parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. You must have heard of it. So parasympathetic nervous system is more about rest and digest. Their basic system in which mind is, once you're in mode of sympathetic nervous system, it's like fight or flight, like you're being attacked. When you're stressed, you're basically sympathetic nervous system, or more towards the Pingla. Pingla is that sun energy. Ida is more the moon energy. So parasympathetic nervous system, it's like rest and digest when you're learning, listening to the music, eating food, having relax, having this good sleep. So that is Ida. And you can actually test it. I mean, there's many RCTs, random controlled trials on it, double-blinded random control trials. So that if once your Ida is awakened, once you're breathing through the left nostril, then you will have a very sound sleep. And mind has certain kind of waves, which are known as delta waves. So Ida produces delta waves, and those delta waves induces sleep. And remember, insomnia is one of the biggest problem in the West. People can't sleep. So if you activate your Ida, you're basically mastering your sleep. Yeah, because your delta, you don't have to, people actually listen to certain music and expose them to delta waves to get sleeps here. Crazy experiments are being happening, but actually you can master it on your own. That's what yogis are saying. And now, if you are a bit restless or thinking too much, then you are under beta waves. So first was delta wave, and then beta. Beta waves is your body is under too much influence of the Pingla. Yeah, so it's a bit restless, thinking one thought after the other, just keep jumping, like another Shaktis moving from one thought to another, keep shifting. And then there is another kind of waves, which is known as the gamma waves. When prana is flowing, it happened during the day sometime to everyone, that it flows through both Ida and Pingla. So that's a balanced state. And in that balanced state, what happened? Your brain is releasing gamma waves. And once your gamma waves are releasing, it's very calm. You're very calm. You're very meditative. That's the time you can meditate very easily. You sit down because your mind is not either toward that side or toward that side. Otherwise, what happens? In meditation, either people sleep or thought doesn't end. It's one thought after the other. So one of the things happen. So once you master them, you're in the middle and there's a delta. And you can actually try it. I know some research scholars are there. Play in YouTube some gamma wave music and try to study. You'll see you'll be more productive. I can guarantee you. But these you can do on your own too. Yeah. So I'm talking about this very, very highly evidence-based practice. So Hatha Yoga is actually, from that angle, from scientific angle, is very, very strong. Remember, they talk about chakras. So chakras start from Muladhara to, Swadhisthana, and Manipur, and then Anahat, Vishuddhi, and then Agya Chakra and Sahasrara Chakra, and then Bindu in between. So now they say that from Agya Chakra to Sahasrara is the top chakras. Once it enlightens, everything is enlightened. So the highest point of the consciousness reside here. Yeah. So, and that has never been proved to be wrong. I always say that in my seminars, that no matter what medicinal system, before the William Harvey come, William Harvey in 18th century discovered that heart is just a pump. The consciousness reside here. But no other meditation system was saying that. Everyone, even Chinese medicine, who was developed a huge medicinal system on the basis of yin and yang, Unani system, Greek system. You go to any medicine system, they all believe that consciousness is in the heart. But this Tantra tradition from the beginning, and including the Hatha Yoga, says the highest consciousness is here. So this is not a small thing. So they have never been, and Ida and Pingla is so close to parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. So you can see how close they are, to the truth. And many of their claims are still need to be verified. And I'm sure there should be more random control trials on the basis of these texts, which have so much information and which can be so much useful to the humanity, that there's a lot of truth in them. And then they didn't do any RCTs to reach to these conclusions. So coming back to that Shat Karmas, which is 6 purifying techniques. What Hatha Yoga says is that you have certain metabolic wastes in your body. There are 3 mainly: mucus, gas, and acidity. Mucus, gas, and acidity. These metabolic waste aggravate either tamas or rajas. You know that if you eat some food which is very highly fatty food, then it slows you down. Tamas increases in the body. Or if you eat food something which is more spicy, very hot and pungent and acrid kind of food, then it makes you more irritable. Yeah, so they have impact. So through even food, we know that. And that's the Hatha Yoga explained that because they produce these 3 things, either mucus is more closer to phlegm, or gas, or acidity. Yep. So now these things, it can be also understood in terms of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, because mucus is more like a Kapha thing, phlegm. Acidity is more like Pitta, and gas is more Vata. So this is pure Ayurveda. So that's why I'm saying that Ayurveda also peeps in here. So these 3 waste, metabolic waste, if there is imbalance in the body, you have these 3 metabolic waste. What in Ayurveda we call ama. So once you have high in ama, then you naturally will become more either kshipt or vikshipt or mood. But once you calm them down at bodily level, then you can practice pranayama and easily practice pranayama. And then you can reach to the higher state, which is, the Sanyam, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So Hatha Yoga connect more with this, with the mundane reality at the moment, the contemporary reality of the people at the moment, pull them out of the sufferings. But broadly, its goal as to relate to the raise the consciousness, human consciousness at the level of the highest, at the level of the Raj Yoga, is there. But you have to first raise those people, the conditioned people, in terms of their habits, in terms of their virtues and vices. So you have to raise them at a certain level. And once they are there, then they can follow the path of meditation. And that's why most people, they sit there and then they say, I can't meditate. And the harder they try, it doesn't work. And if you ask them, you have to do first those yama and nema. It's very hard. Say for nema is, if we have time, actually, I can elaborate a bit on yama and nema as well. I will ask the organizers. But if you see that aste brahmacharya prigraha, aste is non-stealing. Don't take anyone's money. If people can practice this, there is no corruption. But we know it's not true. Everyone there is. So it's set ethical code of conduct, which is important, which is the important. But it's very hard for people in mundane existence to practice it. So Hatha Yoga gives you that door in which these yama and niyamas naturally come out of you. There is a state of mind. Once mind attains certain kind of purity, then these virtues naturally comes out of you. And once they comes out of you, your practice just flies. It raises you to higher levels. So just check out with the Professor Jyotsna ji or Dr. Jai Singh. How much time I got? I don't want to just keep going on.
Okay, sir, you may conclude now because we are already a little bit late.
Okay,
there
I
must be
understand.
some time for the discussion also. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So so coming slightly back to Hatha Yoga Pradipika, that there is they have these meridians in the body, Ida and Pingla, and once you create that harmony between them, the pran flows from this Shushmana, and once pran flows the Shushmana, that Mooladhara and Agya Chakra get connected, and once they get connected, then Kundalini can rise up. Before even talk about Kundalini, you have to clean that meridians. And Hatha Yoga finishes here. Once you reach to Agya Chakra, Hatha Yoga is finished. Its job is done. Now the Raj Yoga, from the Agya Chakra to Raj Yoga, which happened in its own time. You have done your job. Now it's moving from some Asampragya Samadhi to the Sampragya Samadhi to the Sampragya Samadhi, which means meditation with an object to the meditation in which there is no objectless Samadhi. So this comes in time. So so revising back to my concept that Hatha Yoga is basically a very, very, for the modern man, Raj Yoga is too hard to practice, but Hatha Yoga give you that leverage, give you that step in which you can follow step by step and reach to a certain level, and then you can practice the highest principle of Sanyama, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi to reach to the highest level of consciousness. And we all have to do it together because the whole humanity has to evolve to that level. And I hope we can get back those sages, that highest positive energy who has receded into the Himalayas back. And this India, modern India, will be a truly enlightened and spiritual India. Thank you very much. Namaste. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you very much. Very nice.
Sir, for explaining Hatha Yoga very scientifically and enlighten us. Now the session is open for discussion. If anyone asks to any question, they may ask. Javed.
Amit sir. Thank you, sir. Amit sir. I have to ask that how can we develop the subconscious mind according to Hatha Yoga? I repeat, how can we develop the subconscious? I'm just asking that how can we develop the subconscious mind according to Hatha Yoga? That's a simple question. Thank you.
Is this question for me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Thank you very much. Very good question. Subconscious mind is basically, Hatha Yoga Pradipika say, you can't. If you go straight, you can't. It's too subtle. You have to start with gross. So start with asana first. And once you master the asana, then you come the Shat Karmas. This is the second chapter. You see the order of the chakras. So Shat Karmas, and then you come to that pranayam, and then mudra and bandhas. And once you reach to mudra and bandhas, then you're in the, once you start mastering the pranayam, you already start mastering the pranayam, the subconscious mind. Because what subconscious mind is? Subconscious mind is something which you don't have access to. It's there deep into your limbic system, setting there, which basically guide your behavior, but you have no idea where it is. There is no light on it. And eventually this in samadhi, the state of enlightenment, that's why enlightenment word is used. Enlightenment means there is nothing is hidden. Light is everywhere. So in yoga, actually, there is no subconscious once you reach to the samadhi, because there is no portion of the mind in which there is no light. And that's what enlightened is. So, but for the common man, yes, you're right. They have subconscious. They are not aware of certain things, and that behavior they can't control directly. So they have to start with this step by step. Master first asana, then Shat Karmas, and then go to pranayam, and then mudra and bandha, and then you reach to that, and you'll see there is no subconscious left anymore. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Any other question? Yes, Manish.
Sir, how do we move from tamas state to sattva state?
Yes. So basically, you're saying that there are 5 states in the mind: Kship, mood, vikship, ekagra, and niruddha. Mood is basically when tamas has dominated. So tamas is, what is tamas? Tamas is when you're really infatuated, or under delusion, or you become really the extreme of laziness, or you just don't hold on to certain beliefs which is basically are not helping you, but you're just getting stick to them. So tamas is sort of lack energy, gets stuck somewhere. There is stagnation here in tamas. Yeah, like in rajas, there are too many random energies flowing across the meridians, too much restlessness. In tamas, in the mood state of the mind, tamas has dominated. Now, how to move from mood to ekagra? Ekagra is the pure sattva. And this is the $1 million question. So once you go to, Patanjali would say that if you are in mood, in tamas state, there is no way you can practice yoga. Even if someone suggests you do 1 or 2 days, I mean, you can't move in further in it. So, but in Hatha Yoga, point of Hatha Yoga Pradipika says that you follow again the same path like asanas, and asanas will start giving you some stability of mind, and start challenging certain belief you're holding on to. Because as I said, mood in tamas, you get stuck. So that you need energy to move it. And that energy will come. Energy is there. We all eat food and we all have certain amount of energy. The thing is, either energy got stuck or too much wasted, in distractions like happen with the kship. So in tamas get stuck. So that stuck has to be broken. And that broken will come with the mudras and bandhas. So once you break those barriers through the mudras and bandhas, you can, like if get, like in tamas, for instance, if you got stuck in Mooladhara chakra, then there is, you can gather, you can use the Mool bandh to wake them up. If you got stuck in Manipur chakra, you can either use that chakrasana to open up that Manipur chakra, and or you can use that Udyan bandh. Agya chakra, you can use that, that 4 postures which are necessary to master. Hatha Yoga Pradipika give many postures. The 4 postures, he said the highest one. And these are Siddhasana, Padmasana, Sihasan, and Bhadrasana. Bhadrasana is also Gorakhnath. So these postures will basically remove that stagnation energy. In that, Siddhasana is basically for Agya Chakra. If you got stuck there, then you can move that energy. So through that, you send extra energy to break that stagnation. And once that stagnation obstacle is broken, energy start flowing, and then you get balance. And then once that energy start flowing, the sattva start emerging. I hope I answered your question.
So may I ask something?
Yes, please.
So it's not really a question, but I just need some clarity on something. You have mentioned that the very beginning of Hatha Yoga is asana. And Professor
Yes.
Gorakhnath sir did mention the role of 10 yams and 10 niyams in Hatha Yoga. So what exactly is the position of yam and niyam in Hatha Yoga, if there is any?
Yeah, very good question. What I would say is that there is actually a text. There is a shloka in this in Hatha Yoga Pradipika which mentioned about that that the role of asana, and it goes like prior to everything. Yes, it's a 17 shloka of chapter 1. 17 shloka of chapter 1. It says, prior to everything, asana has the first place in Hatha Yoga. Having mastered asana, one attains steadiness of body and mind, freedom from disease, and lightness of the limb. So, so what it is saying is that if you go, the asana is something that should be the starting point. Because if you see their Shat Kriyas, they are not that easy to practice. Like, say, for instance, dhoti, basti, neti probably people can do, many people can do, but noli, for instance. So they're quite hard practices. So you need certain preparation for that. That's certain steadiness of the mind for that. And I think that's why it says that first master the asana. So then you do the Shat Kriyas. And then you, what you said, there's those yama and niyamas will naturally come to you. If you have certain metabolic waste in the body, like mucus, gas, and acidity, then that metabolic waste will come against practicing you the yama and niyama. It will be very hard for you to practice yama and niyama if you have those metabolic waste in your body. But once you get rid of them, then you can do. Because if you do yama and niyama straight away, it becomes very hard. So, and that's why most people can't practice Raj Yoga straight away. And that's why I elaborated that Raj Yoga straight away say the order is like yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. But order here is first asana, and then following things come. So he also mentioned about yama and niyama, and in fact he added a few more. But the thing is, he doesn't give him that much emphasis. So they will naturally come to you once you purify your body, your consciousness to a certain level. So yeah, that is my humble answer to it. Maybe Professor Mishra want to add something.
Thank you, sir.
But you should read the Shlok 17 of chapter 1. You will see what I'm saying.
Sure, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. Sir, very congratulations to you both, scholar Gorakhnath sir, and you actually. a great learning from the youngest, just I from the youngest scholar, that you focus upon the internal consciousness these days, the restlessness, all happenings are going on. That is a very noticing point, and we have to learn a lot from this lecture. But there is some problem that I noticed. I want to know your thought here, that you tell that if you have to practice the Hatha Yoga, then you have to be astika. It means that you have setting the criteria, conditioning it. If those who are not actually astika and as a limited one citizen, then how can they benefit? How it be feasible to them? How it ill to the common people? It means that we have to learn a lot. As a human being, we have to improve. So my question is, how a common human being can be benefited by the Hatha Yoga? And when we limited this one as a Hatha Yoga to a specific point, does it actually inclusive one? And actually, the more what I learned, that the main ultimate goal of Hatha Yoga is Raja Yoga, which is not explained too much in the lectures. I want to clarify here that what is actually the Raj Yoga. I doesn't get too much about the Raj Yoga. And when we achieve the case of Raj Yoga, what will actually benefit, what will the common man and we as a scholar will get when we fulfill the Raj Yoga? Thank you. Kamlesh Yadav, a research scholar from Banaras Hindu University, philosophy and religion.
Good question, Kamleshji. So, as far as I understand, you want to ask first what actually Raj Yoga is. We discuss a lot about Hatha Yoga, but Raj Yoga is not much discussed. And then how you think Hatha Yoga can relate with the common people. If I understand correctly, you say that it's more astic. So now, if you go back in 1302 BC, no, not that much back, but 1320 BC, when Sankhya, when Kapil Muni was writing a text, which is Shashti Tantra. It's not available, but we have find close references in Sankhya Karika. So he elaborated a system in which there is no mention of God. Yeah, so there is some religious tradition going on parallelly. But in Sankhya, if you see, and Sankhya is the mother of every philosophical system, first system, a metaphysical, epistemological system, a complete system, mother of all system, every philosophical system on entire earth. I'm talking about 1300 BC. Nowhere else it was written anywhere like that. And there is no God in it. No God at all. So out of 25 elements, he explained everything. And that Patanjali later had one more element, Ishwar Pranidhan. Remember in Niyama you say, Niyama is Soch Santosh Tap Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan. Ishwar Pranidhan. So that's the only word for the Ishwar used once in Yoga Sutra. So, don't need a God to practice that. But Ishwar Pranidhan is also optional. So once you move from object samadhi to objectless samadhi, to some people it can help. So yeah, so that's, but remember one thing, and also Sankhya, Mahavir, Buddhist, and also sort of Patanjali just add Ishwar Pranidhan at one place, but broadly, there's no God in them. So atheists, mainly the Western scholar call Buddhist and even Jaina are atheists, but that's actually not true because they have been silent. Buddha and Mahavir are actually silent on it. And Sankhya never used it. Kapil never used it. Ishwar Krishna never used it. So, and Patanjali is just using it once. So they are basically, but they are making you almost a god. So consciousness can evolve to an extent. You become almost a god. And that's the beauty. That's the, I mean, that's the most, I'd say, the highest thought ever these Indians have produced. So you can raise your consciousness to a level, aap amrit ke putra ho, aap amrit hi ho. You raise your consciousness to the extent in which you become like a god. So it's not true. Like the godliness is there also in Buddhist. In their concept, you know, there is a, we all have 84 lakhs. 84 lakhs is not used in Western societies anymore, but Indians like to use it. So I will say 8.4 million yonis we have to go through. And so then we come to the human being. So they say that in this process, if you go, you see that everyone you see at some stage, that will be your mother. If you go through all those 8.4. So then why you won't kill your mother? So if you kill someone, so that's ahimsa, that's a starting point of yama. Then ahimsa is do not harm someone. That's the first principle Patanjali says. Do not harm someone. Yeah, but if you read Jiddu Krishnamurti, he said the history of mankind is the history of human atrocities. And that's true too. For the last 5,000 years, we fought more than 5,000 wars. So, you know what I'm saying? So that, and Yoga Sutra was there. So how many people are listening? And especially in the modern context, keeping the answer short, in the modern context, if you see, like, say for instance, and this is a similarity between Patanjali, Buddha, and Mahavir. They have a very strong ethical code of conduct that you have to practice this. Certain observances, certain restraint, certain observances. Yama is restraints, and then observances are nema. So yama means do not do it. Do not lie. Do not harm anyone. Do not steal. Yeah. So do not hold anything. Yeah. Do not live a sensual life, too much sensual life. So, and then nemas, cleanliness, be clean. So there are more observances. So similarly, the Ashtangic marg in Buddhism also, there is this strong Ashtangic marg. They have the Eightfold Path. So they have strong ethical conduct. Similarly, Mahavira is very strong ethical conduct. So it's not possible for everyone to, if you ask someone that you practice it directly, then it's not possible. Like say for instance, ahimsa, I would say someone is a serial killer. Yeah. So serial killer is when he kills for first time, and if he go unpunished, he will do the next one for sure. And then he will do it. And then if he don't get next time, the third one be coming even sooner. He will do more repeatedly, even more earlier. So now, why that happened? Because once you break that do not harm principle, then that next time the resistance level is low. And the next time even lower. Now the barrier is lower. So your consciousness start degenerating lower and lower. And that's why Patanjali said, do not do that. Once you go, there is no end. Like the fight between, like the common fight between, the couples, like a married couple. Once they fight for the first time, they laid the foundation for the second to happen. And it get eventually worst. So, but if you avoid that first, because first time you break that barrier, so that's why the Patanjali is saying, do not do that. Because once you go, once you do something, there is sanskar. And sanskar is like impression. You did something, you're bound, that sanskar is there. And that sanskar also add to that karmic storehouse, inventory of the karmas. So, and then they are there. They will make you do, as I said about the serial killer, similarly a simple fight. Do the same action and then you degenerate. So Patanjali said, do not degenerate. Now, in the modern time, the people has already there. How they're going to follow Patanjali? He is right, what he says, but too hard. The barrier is too high. But this Hatha Yoga is saying, practice start with asanas. Asana anyone can do. And once you see asana and you feel that there is some change in your body, previously you have too much irritable, now you after the posture, you feel a bit of your posture has improved, some meridians have opened up, you feel a little bit better. Yeah, and then you can do certain kriyas, your body get more purified. Now, in the process, you're basically naturally moving toward that principles. Yeah, once you feel really have high energy, you're not hurted. If you're hurted, you're reactive. If you're not, the chances are that you will not hurt anyone. So Hatha Yoga is more, that's why I say Hatha Yoga is more connected, more contemporary. And so it can help the common people on the ground, and it can raise up to a certain level. And then once they go there, then they can practice Raj Yoga. Coming to your second part of the question, sorry to take that long. This Raj Yoga is basically Patanjali, it's basically the highest goal of Raj Yoga is Samadhi. So Samadhi is as Niruddha state in which you become completely detached, in which you become pure consciousness. It's a state about Samadhi says you abides in your true nature. You don't have even any experience, because experience required, you have to be in time and space. You're not in time and space. You go into that mood in which that stability has come. Say, for instance, you start meditating like common person. If they start meditating, what will happen? First thing they will do, they will start observing their body. And then they see this body is different from my mind. So he can clearly see that. In mind, some thought come and then body execute it. So he see that distinction between body and mind. Yeah, easy to observe. And then the second stage, he said that mind is also, he goes slightly, mind is, I'm talking about manas. He go slightly beyond, and then he reach up to the ego. Ego is the next stage. You see the I-ness everywhere. It's the I see that I, and that is very hard to break. But once you break I, then that comes buddhi. Yep. So evolving like from body, you go to manas. From manas, you go to the next state, which is this body, and then buddhi. After buddhi come this what was saying this ego, ahankar. After ahankar is hard to master. And once you break that, you are in buddhi. Buddhi is intellect, that is pure sattva. And once you're in pure sattva, prakrti again become unmanifest. If you see the evolution of 25 particle, buddhi come at the bottom, and after buddhi, the other evolution is happening. So you go back to that state. And buddhi is pure sattva. Once you're in sattva, then you can see with clarity your true nature, which is pure consciousness. So there are 4 steps in the meditation. Body, and then you transcend mind. Mind is manas. Manas is you getting information through your senses, and then your mind is judging something very quickly, like this limbic system taking certain judgments. They may be right. You haven't used your prefrontal cortex yet, so you may be right. It's just more like the way you feel the reality. And then I think I is how that information is related to you. And then after that, the intellect comes when you can say sort of prefrontal cortex you start using. And then once it becomes more pure, then you go beyond to the pure consciousness. Because even buddhi is a part of eventually the prakrti. And in that part, the pure consciousness in which you basically, there is no moment. Because if you see the prakrti is always becoming. When we fight with each other, what's the main reason? Because you want to become someone and someone is stopping you. So that becoming is stopped, then you are just a being. I hope I can speak half an hour on that, but I don't want to bore you that long. But I hope I answered your both questions. But good questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful discussion. Now, without doing any delay, I request Honorable Professor R.C. Sinha, sir, for concluding remark. Over to you, sir. Professor R.C. Sinha, sir.
So I must extend my namaskar to each and every one who are on the line and off the line. I must congratulate Professor Gorakhnath Mishra ji as well as Yogi Amit ji, Amit Mishra ji. And both are, in one way or the other, practitioners. Because I know Professor Mishra, Gorakhnath Mishra, Professor Gorakhnath Mishra, because I had great chance to stay with him in the same room. And especially I can remember our stay in Gorakhpur seminar. So I knew because he, whenever he comes to seminar, he talks about yoga, and we are always benefited. But I heard for the first time Yogi Amit Mishra ji. And certainly a philosopher or the student of philosophy may have different perspective on yoga. But a practitioner is well acquainted and he is a very much a practitioner can explain things in a different way. Because he lives, a practitioner lives with the yoga. He attains certain height. Because even if you do a little bit yoga, you are a different man. You are not the same man living only on the intellectual plane. So I must thank, I am obliged to Professor Jyotsna Srivastava ji, because I got this unique opportunity to listen the scholar, the practitioner scholar. I do not want to tax more because it has already, the time limit has exceeded. And I must thank those who selected this text. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika, written by Swami Swamatma Ram, is a disciple of Gorakhnath, and rightly Professor Gorakhnath Mishra started that his name is also Gorakhnath. I have got only one point to mention, that when I was a student, my teacher said, what is there in, what is philosophy in yoga? He was teaching Indian philosophy, and I can mention his name. He was a great scholar, Professor Harimohan Jha, a well-known scholar and head of the department of Patna University. I was a student in M.M.V. Later on, I shifted to Varanasi as a research scholar. And that's why I am here, I am with you, because I had been a student of B.H.U, and I do not miss any invitation. I do not have courage to decline any invitation of my mother institution, because I am what I am because of the Department of Philosophy, B.H.U. So he was always asking, he was teaching yoga, and he floated the question that what is philosophy in yoga? You can practice yoga. It was his perspective, and certainly I know personally, I knew him, that he was he was a little bit skeptical about the philosophical aspects, philosophical theory of yoga. But I think that yoga has got its own philosophy. It is not simply practicing asana and pranayam. It is not confined to asana and pranayam. And Hatha Yoga certainly prepares the way for higher realization. And Swami Amit ji has mentioned about Sampragyat Samadhi and Asampragyat Samadhi. He casually mentioned, but while thinking today, collectively thinking about the question raised by my honorable, the late teacher, he was, by temperament, he was a materialist. And he was a very, very good scholar of Indian philosophy. But that I could not reflect. But when I listened Dr. Gorakhnath Mishra, and when I listened Yogi Amit Mishra ji, and I also listened to Dr. Jyotsna ji. So I came to the conclusion that we have to make a distinction between philosophy and a yogi. A yogi can be a philosopher, and yogi is always a philosopher. But a philosopher may be yogi or may not be, because a philosopher, as in India, rishis and maharshis, they propounded Indian philosophy. And certainly, whether they practice rishis, they may not be philosopher in the Western sense. But Indian philosophers, they have got distinct philosophy. Philosophy is not only rational inquiry or the critical reflection. If we understand philosophy as a critical reflection or the rational inquiry, then a practitioner, a yogi may not be a philosopher. But we understand philosophy as a pursuit for or attempt to realize. Self-realization is the key of Indian philosophy. Indian philosophy is not a merely rational inquiry. It is a rational inquiry, no doubt. Whenever we do philosophizing, we do something rational. But we are not confined, Indians are not confined to mere rational inquiry. We go to the level of consciousness. And yoga prepares the way for consciousness, and certainly not only Sampragyat Samadhi, but our rishis, our yogi, they attempt for, they prepare the way for Asampragyat Samadhi. That is the pure consciousness. So the definition, the character of philosophizing, differs. Indian way of philosophizing is different. And certainly we have got Sankhya Yoga clubbed together. And the one question came that yoga philosophy is a theistic one, Sankhya is a theistic one. This requires the whole this topic, the text Hatha Yoga Pradipika requires to be analyzed not only by yogi but by philosophers too. But most of the philosophers, they did not pay much attention to these texts. I must congratulate the department and especially Jyotsna Srivastava, Dr. Jyotsna, who invited me, and I'm really benefited, and I know the limitation of the time. So with these words, I thank both the speakers, learned speakers, and I may be discussing with Dr. Gorakhnath, Mishra, privately, whenever we get chance to meet. But I must congratulate the organizers. With these words, I again thank you all. Handed over to organizers.
Thank you so much, sir, for your golden words. We feel privileged to have you with us. Now, at the end of the program, I invite Dr. Jai Singh, sir, convener of the webinar, for delivering formal vote of thanks.
Hello. It is a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this very memorable occasion. First and foremost, I thank Professor R.C. Sinha, former director, ICPR, New Delhi, who has, despite his busy schedule, has found the time to grace this occasion. I express my sincere thanks to Professor Gorakhnath Mishra, University of Goa, for his scholarly talk. I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Amit, the director of Dharma Yoga, Blacktown, Sydney, for his valuable and a beautiful presentation. We are grateful to our respected principal, Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Professor Inu Mehta ma'am, for his cooperation and guidance. And I would also like to thank Professor Anand Mishra, sir, the head Department of Philosophy and Religion, for his valuable cooperation and help. I would also like to thank the honorable senior teachers who present in the seminar, this online as well as offline mode. Thank you very much, sir. I will also like to thank all the students from the Department of Philosophy and Religion and research scholars. And all the students from the PG and you can say the undergraduate level. I will also thanks all the students, and those I forget the name of these teachers and the students. I will also thanks them also, because it's not possible to give the detail and the names of all the students. And last but not least, the two research scholars, Ashish Singh and Rajneesh. We are really thankful. Without their support and their help, this program cannot be possible. So, and I will also like to thank Professor Joshna Srivastava Madam, Professor Sarita Rani and Vivek Kumar Pandey sir for their cooperation and their guidance and their help. Once again, last, I will thankful to all of the people who are present in this seminar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope we will listen you again.
Thank you, sir.
With the permission of chair, I want to conclude the session. Now it's over. Thank you. Thank you, Amit sir. Thank you, Mr. sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank